Less is more. Isn't that music to your ears at midlife? Well, it's true.
So many of you are doing too much, physically, mentally and emotionally. It's time to understand why you'll get more when you do less.
Hi, I'm James Davis.
And I'm Claire Davis.
We're the Midlife Mentors, here to lift the lid on how to achieve health and happiness.
The balanced, no-nonsense way.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Midlife Mentors. I'm James.
And I'm Claire. How are you all doing out there?
So today we thought we would talk about the fascinating concept of when less is more.
We're hoping you find it fascinating. We find it fascinating.
It's actually one of the main pillars of our approach when we're working with clients on our programs and helping them transform. Less is more is one of the key things. We try to break everything down to its simplest format to make it easy to understand and follow. But
it's like
also,
music to the ears of our clients, isn't it?
It is.
Less is more.
And it spills over into everything. So in this, we're going to dive into kind of like the physiological effects, training, emotional, psychological, what's going on hormonally, to give you a really good understanding as why always pushing harder and doing more isn't necessarily the best thing to do, especially at midlife.
Yeah, especially at midlife, because I was talking to a client this morning actually who was just saying, in our generation, at our age, just piling more and more pressure and more stuff onto yourself. It's just so damaging psychologically as well. We just end up feeling completely burnt out and stressed, and we do not need that any more than what we've got in our lives right now with what's going on in the world. Coronavirus.
Yeah, so it's interesting. If we look at, first of all, like the broadest example of like performance, we know there's basically an inverted U-shaped curve for performance that's linked to arousal. And for arousal, read stress. And everyone sits somewhere along that curve, and they'll have a different point at which they become, optimized performance, and where their performance starts to trail off. So imagine that inverted U curve. If you're someone that like actually thrives on high stress, you'll be like to the right of that curve. So if you're sitting on the left side, you're just feeling understimulated, bored, routine is killing you, you're going to generate excitement to go. The thing is, when you go too far to the right, you actually start to lose performance. Same thing if you sit on the left. Anything that's crazy that's out there is going to really upset you, put you out of your zone. But we have to find the optimum position to get our best performance and get our stress levels correct. And often, too many of us will take too much on in one time. It's a myth we can multitask, by the way. It came from the world...
Women can. Oh, come on.
It came from the world of computers, but our brains are not actually set up in that way. It's just we convinced ourselves otherwise. But there's multiple research that shows that when we multitask, our performance actually decreases across all pretty much all measures. But what happens is we try and take too much, and we've got so, especially in the modern world, so wedded to the idea of being busy and appearing busy that we take on more and more and more and more and actually achieve less.
Well, actually, we put a lot of our value on, we've said this before, but, we put a lot of value on how busy we seem to the outside world, because busy equals success and happiness and fulfillment for so many people. We're in a world where we've become human doings instead of human beings. And I know James is going to talk a lot about the training side. I really want to share some of the stuff that I've been going through recently from an emotional perspective and a psychological perspective, actually. So I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you. But from a less is more perspective, I don't know whether you want to dive in and talk about exercise and training.
Yeah, let's break it down. So let's talk about exercise and training first of all. And one of the things we see, listen, we get it with midlife. I'm 48 very soon. If you want to send me a birthday card, it's December the 2nd.
Oh my God. a Sagittarius, by the way, guys. There's a fire sign. So
cards are fine.
I'm actually going to put this out there. So I've got to talk about star signs. I love star signs. I'm obsessed with it. So is James, actually. Do you read the stars pretty much every morning? It's very cute.
I'll have a look.
But Sagittarius, right?
Bit of the old Mystic Meg.
Mystic Meg. Oh my God, can you remember her?
I went for Christmas dinner with her once, you know. Lovely lady.
Going off piece slightly, but I hope you like it. Always banter between the midlife mentors. So James is a fire sign. I'm a Virgo, which is an earth sign. But yeah, everyone thinks I am quite out there. I am loud. But James is a typical fire sign. Typical fire sign. Behind closed walls, closed doors, I should say. James is and an only child.
Just because I'm letting people know about my birthday.
It's about me. It's about me. It's all about me in my world.
Anyway, the point to that is we know what it's like, right? I'm 48 in December, and yeah, as we age, and we've covered this in the podcast.
Younger model.
I've got a younger model, very gorgeous young model. Cover this in loads of podcasts. There's loads of physiological changes that are going on that basically make it a lot harder for us to preserve our muscle mass and keep our body fat low. And we won't dive into all those again, but what we see all the time with clients are kind of like experiencing this happening, and they're kind of tweaking the bits that they think they should be tweaking, so kind of trying to clear up the nutrition a little bit, be a bit cleaner. But where they'll go wrong is they start like doubling up on the training. They'll be like, oh, you know, I was running twice a week for 5k. What I'll do is run 3 times a week for 10k, add in like some rowing and a HIIT session. But all they're doing is adding to the stress on the body. Now, as we know, stress has any number of like mental and emotional damage factors that it does, but it also has a number of interesting physiological factors. So when we train, by the very act of training puts our body into a stress response, which is what we want. But again, remember that inverted U-shaped curve. There's this place on that curve where we're going to get the results we're looking for with the right amount of stress. If we aren't stressing it enough, guess what? Not great results, because we're not actually progressing. If we're overstressing it, we'll actually start to break our muscle mass down. We'll start to hold on to body fat more. This is because cortisol gets raised in our system, and it's very damaging. And aside from the fact that it makes us hold on to abdominal fat and starts to break down the muscle tissue, it's got a whole load of like mental factors as well. It actually makes you like dumber, believe it or not. It actually shrinks the hippocampus.
Is that what's happening to you? Hippocampus? Hippocampus.
Which is part of the brain. Narrows your focus. We go into what we can go what we call an allostatic load state.
That is what's happening to you.
Oh my God.
Sorry, guys. I'm in a real mood. I was like this on the live workout we did this morning as well.
So, we'll see loads of clients actually just start smashing training harder and harder and harder, trying to get the result they're looking for, and not getting the results. They just go more and more and more and more. It's because they're doing completely the wrong thing. You actually need to dial it back, work out more intelligently, and factor in your recovery time.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. It really is frustrating. We see this all the time, and you know, it is painful when people come to us and say, like James said, I've been doing 45-minute sessions on my Peloton for like 5 sessions a week. And, you know, it's because you're not feeling good about it. So it's basically because your body is changing. At midlife, our body is changing. We do begin to feel less attractive. I'm not saying that that's what we should be feeling, but we do start feeling less attractive. We start losing our confidence, our self-esteem. So when we're doubling down on our effort and nothing is working, and you're going hard at it all the time, it's really debilitating actually, and can get you stuck in this really, really vicious cycle of doing more and feeling less good about yourself and more beating yourself up. So just wanted to add that you're not alone in these feelings. It is completely common, and actually that is why less is more is such a fundamental pillar of our method, because it's so true. It is most commonly that people are just doing too much. Yeah,
and you know, it comes a vicious circle as well. So let's paint the nightmare scenario that some of you may even have experienced or be experiencing is in a quest to get the results you're looking for, you're training harder and harder and harder. Actually, the results aren't coming. So you train harder. It's increasing your stress levels. You start to produce less neurotransmitter serotonin, meaning you start to get more anxious, more depressed. Because your cortisol is high, you start to reach more sugary, salty carbs for energy. Then your end is locked in a cycle where you're eating more of the wrong things, training the wrong way, you know, not getting the results you want, and actually getting depressed. It starts to impact your emotional state as well. So that's what we want to flip on its head.
And also, just on that as well, when the training isn't working, we see this a lot as well, what you tend to do is end up going for the wrong sorts of food for the reasons James just said, but also then you're going, nothing's working, I'm going to diet. I'm going to restrict my calories.
Another way to stress your body.
Yeah, another way to and also smash your metabolic rate down to the floor. Yeah, stress your body. So again, that is so part of this vicious cycle that we help people get unlocked from, because it is devastating to see people get locked in that and just kind of think that there's no way out.
Yeah, so before we move on to Claire's stuff, like if you are locked in that right now, maybe just pause. Start thinking about what you could be doing workout-wise. Like the way we tend to train with clients is to give them short bursts, like 15 to 20 minutes of HIIT, which is super effective at building fitness and managing body fat levels.
And it is for every level.
And it is for every level. You can, if you're not that fit, you can start low and build it up. The important thing is, no matter where you're starting, is to progress it, and everyone is capable of progressing it. And to build in resistance training as well, which is key. But again, it doesn't have to mean like you're stuck in the weights area of the gym for 5 hours, 5 times a week. You want to be in and out there in like 40 minutes tops, 2 to 3 times a week.
Well, yeah, and all of our stuff that we do actually is all at home anyway, because we do not know how the world's going anyway. We oh my goodness, like with lockdown at the beginning, even us, we were having to do kettlebells and stuff at home, but our clients, pretty much none of them ends up having to go into the gym, which is how they want it, because they're busy and they want to put it, get it into their lifestyle, fit it into their lifestyle, so everything can be done at home. So,
top tip, we actually pretty much preserved our body composition by training through lockdown when the gyms were shut, just by using resistance bands and kettlebells. As just training in a slightly different way and knowing about your cadence of reps and your rep numbers. But again, that's probably a podcast around the time, actually.
It is. James gets real geeky about this. So another thing where less is more. This is something that I feel really, really passionate about at the moment. And just generally do as I move through my life into middle age. I've always tended, like I actually said right at the beginning, to judge my worth. So this is being really vulnerable. Judge my worth on the output of how much work we do, how much value I am in the world. So it's constantly striving, and pushing myself so hard on the work front. I know that will resonate with so many. I know it does. But actually, really, really interestingly, that doesn't actually always create great results. In fact, what it ends up doing is completely burning you out emotionally. And actually taking your foot off the gas for a while can really, really help you reground, regroup, and rebalance yourself. And that's something that I've been really experiencing recently. If you listen to the other recent podcasts, we've done so much moving around. My grandfather passed away about 2 weeks ago now, just after we moved to Marbella. And my coping mechanism has always been when stuff like that happens, because I speak to lots of people about this, but I'm going to speak to women here. The warrior woman who just carries on going. That's how I've always existed. So whenever anything impacts my life, I've always had that behaviour to keep on going, keep on pushing, to kind of override those feelings. I'm getting much better now at pausing and stopping and feeling those emotions and allowing them in, because the thing is, when we numb emotions, we can't selectively numb emotions. So if I numb upset and pain, I'm numbing happiness and love as well. So actually, doing more often prevents you from really being present and feeling the gratitude in your life. And it's at those points where things start to flow way more and way better. So in that sense, actually, the whole thing about our lives being busier and busier and busier, just putting your foot on the brakes at some point doesn't mean you're failing. It doesn't mean you're weak. It actually means you are just taking a rest. Everyone needs rest. Everyone needs to just relax a little bit. No one needs to be perfect. Everyone needs some time to regroup. So sometimes that's what we take people through the program as well. We give people strategies, mindset strategies, based on kind of NLP, hypnotherapy, positive psychology, to actually, I suppose reprogram those self-beliefs that, the more you're doing, the more effective and valuable you are. Actually, we're all about the energy that you're putting out. So if you're completely frazzled, completely burnt out, you're not the best version of yourself for yourself, but anyone else either.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. I think that's like the opening point. Like a lot of us tend to judge our worth, like you were saying, Claire, by being busier and busier and busier in our output. And we don't stop and pause and think what we actually want or take time for ourselves to reflect. I mean, I think one of the key things, if we're going to give an action tip here, is, something Claire and I do is to plan our week ahead, but we put in the time for us. And we just block out time, whether that's for like just meditation, for learning, for going for a walk. Because if you don't do that, what tends to happen is you just sort of blunder into your week, and there's like competing demands on you, work, family, whatever, and your time for you goes out the window. It becomes the bottom of the priority list, when actually it should be up at the top of the priority list. So that'd be first thing. Prioritise your time for yourself and actually plan it in.
Also, like really, really take a look at what you have achieved. So this all comes from not being good enough, not being enough, not being enough. It's kind of like I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do this to be enough, to have enough. I don't know. It's crazy that we all do this, and I'll put my hands up, like I said. And actually, I'm super aware of it now, so I'm able to pull it back. I never used to be, so that's why I used to get burnt out all the time. But actually, just looking at what you have achieved, what you have done, what is going really well in your life right now, what you have managed to just achieve and create in your life. And actually stop reaching for more and more and more, because that's what's driving the constant doing. And I was saying to a client earlier on today, like we do not need like more complication in our life, especially at midlife. We need to actually start thinking, do I really? That's what lockdown and coronavirus has actually given us. Another conversation I was having with a client this morning. It's actually really, really understanding what's important. Do I really need to do this, and this? What can I take out of my life so I have more time, more energy, more space for the things that really mattered? Because what we do is spread ourselves so thinly. We're doing so much. Less is more. Less is more energy for the things that really matter. Less is more for the things you really love and the people that you love.
Exactly. I mean, I'd say talking about coronavirus there.
We can't not.
Depends when you listen to this. So hopefully, at some point in the future, it's just a distant memory. But it looks like we'll be going into more lockdowns or stuff, or definitely more restrictions for a prolonged period of time. So I would just start thinking, if you found the first part of this since it all started quite overwhelming, maybe start making your plans now about how you can start to carve out quality time for yourself. And slow stuff down, because again, it's a coping mechanism. Our brains love to keep us busy as a way of like deflecting from feeling. So take this time now to think about how you can get some more quality time for yourself, how you could maybe stop some of the activities you're doing that actually aren't progressing you, and take on board the concept of less is more to better your life. And if you're thinking about, because this is what comes up a lot of people are like, well, I just am too busy and too overwhelmed to actually do anything new or make a difference in my life or fix my physique or fix my relationship. Let me tell you now, that is out and out an excuse.
It really is. Sorry guys, but it's...
Yeah. We take the time. We have like tons of clients that come to us and they take the time, and they go through the process, and they come out, stronger, leaner, fitter, happier, more optimistic, greater emotion resilience, greater mental resilience, better relationships.
And we're telling you this because we know it's possible for you. It is possible for you. And here's the thing: you don't find time. I always say this: you don't find time. You make the time for what is important. And that's the thing, like these excuses about I'm too busy, I'm doing too much, they are just a way of hiding from the truth that's staring you in the face, which is actually you just need to have the courage to make a first step forward and understand that it is possible for you. And just have that minuscule of self-belief. I know it's hard. I come from many years of not believing that I'm enough, okay? So I know it's hard to take that first step, but just stop using these excuses because, as we always say, you cannot be comfortable and grow.
Exactly. I hope you're finding that useful. Let's just sum it up, I think, Claire. If you're on the exercise overtraining train, so to speak, take a step back from it. Like, just take a step back now. Here's another thing we always tell clients: every like 12 weeks or so, it's good to take kind of what we call a what do you call it?
Decompression
week.
Decompression.
Where we do much lighter training or no training. But if you are overtraining at the moment, if you're training really hard, you're not getting the results.
Stop blaming yourself.
Take a step back. Trust in yourself to do a little bit less with more recovery and see how that works.
Yeah.
If on the other side you're just feeling that life is overwhelming at the moment, you've got so much going on, look at where you can reduce some of that and start carving out some quality time for yourself.
Yeah, because more doesn't always equal more. In fact, I would say less equals more.
And it makes life much simpler and easier.
It makes, just be more present. And I am learning this all the time. So just stay with me. Let's do this together. Team out there listening to this, let's do this together. Let's make sure that we make space for the things that are most important and not use doing as a way of hiding from our emotions and also from making ourselves feel more of value, because it's just not true. You are enough, you are doing enough, and anything is possible once you just slow down a little bit.
And in the spirit of slowing down, we are going to take our own advice. So if you haven't yet joined our free Facebook community, please do so. If you search for the Midlife Mentors community, you will find it. Join it. We are in there with hundreds of like-minded people now, giving loads of free bits of content and value. But here's the thing. We have been flat out since about April, delivering a lot of amazing stuff, virtual retreats, challenges, workshops, and we'll be honest, we're going to heed our own advice. Less is more. So for November for sure, we're going to step back from pushing all that stuff out there into the wide world and just focus on delivering some real quality value into this group. So we would love to see you in there.
I'll put the link actually in the podcast notes, so I'll put the Facebook group link in there. Do join. But James is right. We've been balancing. The life balance hasn't necessarily been there as much as we would like it to be recently. So we're going to take our foot ever so slightly off the gas and regroup, reconnect, and be a bit more present. Just make sure that we're putting that real exciting, valuable content out in our Facebook group. But that's about it for November. We're going to take a little late autumnal break.
The podcast will keep coming. We've got our YouTube channel, the Midlife Mentors. Please go subscribe to that. We're pushing out not just the podcast, but loads of other content there. We'd love to see you in the group.
We're sending you so much love. Thanks for being here. Take care. Bye.
Yeah.
You've been listening to the Midlife Mentors with Claire and James Davis.
We'd love to hear from you. So drop us a line at info@themidlifementors.com with any questions or topic suggestions.
And make sure you join us on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. You can find us under the Midlife Mentors.
Yeah.